Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be diving into the world of Zilliqa, specifically talking about the price action of ZIL and what we might be expecting to happen next here with the price action. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done out of the way, let's dive right down into this weekly chart. Okay, guys, we are paired up with Tether, and we are using Binance as a data source. So if you want to replicate this, you can use TradingView to do so. We can take a look at these 5 impulse waves moving to the upside overall. Okay, this really starts back here in March of 2020. Wave 1 kind of peaking out up here in June. The second wave, the correction wave, kind of bottoming out in September. Good run to the upside for the new year, taking us up to the highs in May. Now, if I go ahead and just grab hold of my price and date range, we're just going to grab this and throw this on here. Okay, let me just make sure I get this in the right spot. Right there we go. So this shows us with 11,490% gains in 420 days. And that's very significant, much more higher than things like Bitcoin with only 1,600. We have what's that? Ethereum at 5,100, and a few others that have not performed as well, right? So Zilliqa's been performing okay. Obviously, if you were buying Zilliqa at the top of wave 3, you've had to basically deal with this correction wave, right? And find this bottom down here. There's an opportunity to buy Zilliqa down here, and we've spoken about that a few times. And we started to see a good push back to the upside, only for the month of September to pull us back down, and now we're looking to push back to the upside. Now, obviously, I've spoken about this a few times in the past, but every wave is full of additional waves, right? So we have these 5 impulse waves to the upside. It is also reasonable to assume, not that I'm going to go looking for it, but you can kind of easily see this. There's a wave 1, a wave 2, there'll be a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5 within our 5th wave. Okay, so ultimately we can see that there is a correction wave in here as we push back to the upside, and again there'll be waves within waves within waves. Normally there's an ABC on the correction side where you can see those things coming back down. So again, you know, you'd be mindful over all of those kind of things, but I'm not really going to dive into that, but just be aware that, you know, these things are natural, they do occur, and there's a few examples of them as well. So here's a correction within our 3rd wave, for example. There's a pullback here for 1 week, and there's a pullback over here, there's a pullback over here, right? Even on our wave 1, although it was quite subtle, there was a small one just there as well. So this isn't unnatural by any stretch of the imagination, and we should be targeting some pretty good moves to the upside next. Okay, overall, I do anticipate another 812% in gains to occur here, and I'm going to go through some additional things on the smaller time frame. So let's jump down into our daily. Okay, so on the daily chart, what we want to do is we just want to highlight a cup and handle. Okay, so we have a cup just here, we have the handle coming down, and then we're going to have a surge to the upside to complete that cup and handle. Okay, now that particular pattern is about 60 to 70% accurate. Okay, it's not 100% that it's going to occur, and it can deviate away randomly at any point in time depending on other market moves. Okay, so it's important that we acknowledge that there is this potential move here, and it has a pretty good probability of occurring, but it's not 100%. Okay, so 60 to 70% is the usual accuracy of a cup and handle. Okay, so with that being said, where do we see it going? So with a cup and handle, we take the top of our cup just here, and we go down to the bottom of our cup. Okay, so we take the top of our handle, sorry, and the bottom of our cup. This then shows us a 1.618 extension. That is the target. So I'm going to quickly grab hold of a horizontal ray, and I'm going to quickly just mark that up there, and I'm going to make that green so that we can see exactly that target. Then I'm going to remove this fib because we don't need it in the way. So our cup and handle actually now looks something like this. We have the cup, we have the handle, and then we surge up to our target just here. It's at that target that you do expect a pullback, okay, or to find some major resistance that they then struggle to get through. That comes in at 18.9 cent. Okay, now I'd like to think this is going to happen in the month of October. Okay, but that being said, timing is always the hardest thing to gauge, and we could potentially see this struggle a little bit, and we could potentially go into November. That being said, that is the expectation on a cup and handle, but again, 60 to 70% is the accuracy rate. Okay, so be mindful of that. We have some interesting targets associated with this. Many altcoins have formed this pattern. Not all of them will complete it. Okay. So good to know that there is a theoretical target that we can be working our way towards. The other things on this daily chart that's also worth acknowledging, if I go ahead and grab my trend line, not that I generally like these things because they're far too easy to invalidate, we have broken this downward trend here. And if I just go ahead and grab hold of it from our top end, we can see that this is the actual trend line that we're looking to break, okay? And this is the key for us right now. So I'm going to leave this one on for now, so we can see how that kind of progresses. But ultimately, from the top of wave 3, all these touch points on here looking to push past this resistance. And if we can push past this trend line, then we should be on our target to 18.9 cent, right? So I'm going to leave it there for now. The other thing we can do, of course, is take the trend line from the bottom and take it up to the top here. And this obviously then forms this triangular wedge, okay? And we can then form this and see where our low points are likely to be and where our high points are likely to be and when this thing is likely to come to a bit of a close, which would be early November. Usually these things break out much earlier than actually getting squeezed right into the tighter part, but it can happen. So we are mindful on that. For me personally, I do think that the best outcome or the most likely outcome is that we're going to break through this and actually go after the 18.9 cent target, and this is mainly going to be led by Bitcoin really targeting its 67k level as well. Okay, so overall, everything's looking pretty good for Zilliqa on the daily. Cup and handle, downward trend, upward trend, triangular wedge, all looking pretty good, forming this particular area here on the chart with good target towards 18.9 cent. Okay, so what about our hourly view? Well, our hourly view shows that we need to see this volatility kind of play out a little bit. Okay, so as we come down here, we have this upward trend kind of getting touched on and moving up towards these resistance lines. We have a resistance line at 10.1 cent and 10.4 cent. We found a lot of resistance down here on the 10.1 cent area. Okay, and this is a lot of resistance. We only found a little bit of resistance at 10.4, got rejected from that area during the month of September, pushing into October in a really strong way. So what I mean by that is finding support over here and getting pulled down, finding the lower area support, rallying back up, finding the resistance, breaching the resistance, getting pulled back down, and then finding the resistance again, okay, in October. So right now, what we're looking for is a small pullback, right? So we are overbought on our hourly chart on this stochastic, so we are looking to see that momentum wipe out from our stochastic RSI, okay? Now, obviously, with this, we will be looking to find a good area of support. Now, one thing that we're going to need to do is check to see what's going on here. We already have a lower volume coming in, which is going to help protect the price. So what we're looking for in this particular scenario is a good support level that makes the most logical sense for Zilliqa. So I'm looking at this area here, about 9.2 cent. And that might be a bit on the lower side, though, depending on the sentiment of the space. And for that, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the 𝗕 dashboard, and we're going to load up the Zilliqa data to see if there's anything in the underlying information that's going to help us understand how deep of a correction that we should be looking for here. Okay, so for those who are unfamiliar, do check out the link in the description below, advice.io, and do sign up. It's completely free, and you're going to get a lot more information about how your cryptocurrencies are performing from the underlying data. The artificial intelligence and machine learning is right more often than not, and it really helps you understand what to expect to happen next. And it is updated every single day to give you a real-time kind of feel for how these cryptocurrencies are performing. Now, Zilliqa has a B3 rating overall, so it's in that mid-range, not the best, but not the worst either. And if we come down, we can actually get into a couple of things in a little bit more detail, right? So we have an AMI-HAD ratio, a C2. This is your liquidity. There are liquidity-based problems for Zilliqa right now, and the same way that there's problems with liquidity for many altcoins. I'm not entirely certain as to the reasoning why, but do play with caution there. Fear and greed index, this is the really interesting one. So obviously there's a generalized fear and greed index for Bitcoin that everyone kind of talks about on YouTube and in various places. This one, however, from advice, is actually a fear and greed index that's specific to Zilliqa. And this one shows you that the fear in the space is, or the rating is a D, which is extreme fear. Okay, so there's extreme fear for Zilliqa. Okay, and obviously finding that we need to see a correction with extreme fear, that's not exactly the best thing in your charts, right? As we come down, though, we do have a sharp ratio in A2. Okay, and the Sharpe ratio is your risk reward. Right now, it's saying that the rewards outweigh the risks, and therefore actually holding Zilliqa might not be a bad idea. Above the 50-day average, and that's a really interesting metric, and I'll get into that in a moment. The moving averages are a C2, but that's understandable considering the volatility of September. Right, the profitability, A1, yes, we can say that that's pretty firm up there. It's had a pretty good profitability, considering when you compare it to things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it has outperformed both of them. So Zilliqa is performing quite well. A1, the best rating that you can get. So what am I seeing here? Well, I'm seeing there's problems with liquidity. There's problems with extreme fear. There's issues with the moving averages. But the Sharpe ratio, the risk reward ratio, is working for you in your favor, and the profitability is up there. So as a long-term hodl, it makes a lot more sense, but do expect volatility on the smaller time frames. This is because there's a lot of more people willing to succumb to the fear and to sell Zilliqa than there are to buy it, and there are buying and selling issues, right? You might not be able to actually buy Zilliqa. Maybe you can only sell Zilliqa right now, and in which case that's compounding the issue. I don't know what the liquidity problems are, but I imagine there's probably centralized exchanges that are not actually allowing people to withdraw or something like that. There's something going on in the background. Many altcoins are affected by this. And it's a really strange time for it. So with liquidity-based problems and, of course, a fear and greed index-based problem, you should be expecting volatility. So when we jump back down to the charts here and we take a look at this, we're overbought, we do need to see a correction, then actually trying to pick out an area that we are looking to find good support on, down here towards 9.6 does make a lot more sense right now. So depending on how that kind of plays out, we could see a pullback to 9.6 before rallying back up and just continuing to trade sideways here until eventually we get the breakout that we need from our downward trend. If we're ever in doubt though, we do zoom out when we pay attention to what is going on the daily chart overall. Good progress has been made recently, and do expect us to just get a little bit more corrected before breaking out of here and heading towards our 18.9 area. Again, if we do complete this cup and handle, which with a 60 to 70% chance, I think that is pretty good odds, then we should be looking towards 18.9 overall for Zilliqa. I'd like this to be October, but there is no guarantee of that. Ultimately, timing is the hardest thing in this space to get. Anyone that says something is happening on a very specific day is very misguided. Ultimately, right now, for us, timing is the hardest thing to get, and all you can really do is say that there's this pattern that is forming, it's looking like it's playing out, and the expectation is to reach this price point. And you obviously say roughly kind of, 4 weeks or so, but it's really hard to actually be accurate about that. With this being said, done and out of the way though, I do anticipate that Zilliqa is on for a pretty good run to the upside overall. Okay, taking out 92.5 cents by the time it reaches the peak of the bull run, which is just short of that $1 range for Zilliqa. Guys, I'm going to leave that video there. Hopefully you have found it useful and informative. If you have, then do hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.